Hello, everybody. This is Colin from THS Media, and I am here with the Oddcast. I have found a name for this podcast, and this is where I talk about video games, entertainment, just pretty much anything in general that's entertainment related, since it's kind of my passion. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about Devil May Cry 5, one of my favorite games from a series of games that is called probably the best action series in gaming. I won't be going over gameplay too much because I'm more of a story guy myself. The story for Devil May Cry 5 starts in Redgrave City, where Dante, a demon hunter who is a demon human hybrid, who is also a son of Sparta, who is a legendary Dark Knight, who is also a demon, and his mother was Eva, a human. He has been the protagonist of all 5 Devil May Cry games, except for 4, which was Nero. Nero is also a demon-human hybrid who used to have a devil arm called the Devil Bringer, but it was destroyed it was taken by a cloaked figure. Next up we have V, a very mysterious person with a bunch of demon pets that he keeps around. And you end up playing as all 3 of these people. Dante was born with a brother named Virgil. Virgil has a sword named Yamato, which after Virgil was cast down into the demon realm after fighting Dante, as Nello Angelo in the first game, he ended up losing his sword. And his sword, Yamato, is a katana that Nero has absorbed into his devil arm, Devil Bringer, which he ends up losing after this cloaked figure rips off his arm very violently. Anyway, now Nero is left with one arm, and he's pretty angry. A demon shows up in Redgrave City called Urizen, who is trying to grow a tree called the Qliphotd. Or Qliphotd, I don't know how they pronounce it in the game. Most of the gameplay in Devil May Cry 5 is revolved around being very stylish in your actions and destroying demons in the most stylish way possible. Meaning you have to vary your combos, do different moves, and you have to be very stylish, as the name would suggest. And what ends up happening is the Devil Trigger mechanic, which Nero only had when he had his devil arm, V has for an unknown reason, which I will get into later, and Dante has had ever since Devil May Cry 3, which was a prequel. But Nero doesn't have it anymore. Now Nero has a Devil Breaker, which is a robotic arm, which he gets in Chapter 2. In Chapter 1, you are playing as Nero, trying to get to Dante as he's fighting the Demon King Urizen. Urizen is proven to be way too strong for any of them to handle. Dante, for the first time in the series, gets destroyed by a demon. He has never lost to a demon, only demon hybrids like his brother. And Nero tries to come in and he gets destroyed himself, and Nero gets called dead weight by Dante, which really affects Nero since he always wanted to be powerful, and yet he can't in this situation because Dante's kind of right in the situation right now. He is dead weight, and Dante loses his iconic sword Rebellion after it is broken from a punch from Urizen, and he is knocked out of the Qliphotd into God knows where. In Chapter 2, you go through the Redgrave City, seeing the Qliphotd attack people and suck on their blood, because the Qliphotd needs blood to grow. And when the Qliphotd is fully made, it produces a fruit which can give them great power. Basically a fruit of might, if you would. Oh, power fruit. Anyway, the Chapter 2, you go through Redgrave City. You see V fighting in the background with his pet demons, Griffin, Shadow, and Nightmare. Nightmare only comes out when he goes into his Devil Trigger. Nero fights a demon called Goliath, who thinks he's really tough, but Nero just ends up throwing him around like a rag doll, and he's a really big guy. He's like the size of a building. Also, this Clyphod tree is like the size of 2 skyscrapers. It is huge. You end up going through this. You end up going through the city, fighting this Goliath guy who's like the size of a church. I can tell because there's a church in the level where you fight him. He ends up getting killed, and then you get new devil breakers from Nico, who is Nero's friend who created the devil breakers. You get to go through the city, and you fight a demon called I forgot the name, but Dante has 2 companions with him at all times in his demon hunting business. You got Lady and you got Trish. Trish was originally a demon created by Mundus, a old demon lord who fought Sparta, and he was he was sealed by Sparta. Anyway, what ends up happening is Lady is put inside of a demon as its host, and Trish is done the same. Trish carries Sparta's old sword, the devil sword Sparta, and Lady carries a rocket launcher called Kalina Ann. But now they both got destroyed along with Dante, and now Nero needs to bust them out. Dante busts Trish out later, but we'll get into that. Nero saves Lady. Lady tells them what happened. They don't know where Dante is. He got knocked out of the Clyphod somewhere, and they didn't see him get out. Lady is inside of the demon that I was just mentioning, and Nero beats it, and Lady comes out of it. After this, you end up switching over to V, which is a very different character. You don't know what he is, but he likes to recite poetry to himself, and he carries a cane. And he has 3 demons with him. Griffin, which is a little bird that likes to shoot things with his fiery blasts or whatever. Shadow, who is a shape-shifting little panther dude who can slice things into pieces. And Nightmare, who is activated when V goes into a devil trigger. V's devil trigger is different from the others, since all it does is make his hair go white. While Dante's devil trigger turns him into a full-on demon. V goes through the city and fights just various demons, destroying Clyphod roots, and on one mission you get to decide to play as Nero or V. Which is really, really, really strange, because I usually pick Nero because I prefer Nero's playstyle. I prefer swords, and instead of the usual just sit back and let your guys do the work, because V doesn't fight. He doesn't fight, period. He's too weak. And that's what his pet demons are for. Anyway, what you're supposed to do is destroy Clyphod roots, and you need to get to Urizen. V ends up going through to find Dante. You find Dante, and he is unconscious. He's been unconscious for a whole month, while everything's been going to hell. Haha, get it? Anyway, V, for some reason, gets this really sudden urge to kill Dante, which I'll get into later. He tries to pick up Sparta and stab Dante with it when nobody really knows why until the end of the game, which I'll get to. And, you play as Dante from then on. Dante is a very similar to his Devil May Cry 4 self, where he has 4 fighting styles. Swordmaster, which increases your sword combos and lets you do other things with swords. Gunslinger, name suggests, more gun stuff. Trickster, which allows you to teleport around and be very hard to hit. And Royal Guard, where you have a little parry mechanic, where you have to time a block and you can parry the person that attacked you, which is a very difficult thing that I'm never going to master. Anyway, you go through Dante's story until you get to this really old house. It was Dante's childhood home. And when you get to this home, it cuts to Nero, who is fighting Urizen. Again, even with the Devil Breakers, he is powerless to do anything. Because Urizen he's too strong. But then you learn, and then V tells Dante his backstory. What V is is the human fragment of his brother Virgil. Urizen, there is no demon called Urizen. That's just the demonic half of Virgil. Virgil used the sword Yamato that he stole from Nero's devil arm, and took it and split himself into two different beings: V, his human half, and Urizen, his demon half. And what Dante figures, that since Virgil did this to himself, why did his father give him the rebellion, which was the sword that was broken in the beginning? He takes out the broken hilt of rebellion, stabs himself in the chest, which is a running gag in the Devil May Cry series, that he gets impaled every game at least once. And he goes into this form called Shin Devil Trigger, or Sin Devil Trigger. He absorbs the Sparta and absorbs rebellion, and it gets this sword called Devil Sword Dante, named after himself. Shin Devil Trigger, which is, or Sin Devil Trigger, is a much stronger Devil Trigger, which can go on par with Urizen just fine. But it does not regenerate like a normal Devil Trigger, but it does massive damage whenever you use it. Dante flies to where Nero is at hypersonic speeds, or light speed even, I'm not even sure, and fights Urizen. Of course, he completely destroys Urizen, but Urizen's like, no, I can't beat this right now, I gotta wait for the fruit to get here. So he opens a portal and leaves. What ends up happening next is you go through the Plyvod chasing after Urizen, and you get the final two weapons for Dante. Dante has four melee weapons and 4 ranged weapons for almost every game he's in. He gets a variety of new weapons. That's his playstyle. He likes to use different weapons instead of just one. Anyway, you go through the Plyvod to get to the top where Urizen is. Or the bottom. The bottom. The bottom is where Urizen is now. And Dante gets there first. And the Urizen fights him after eating the fruit of the tree. Dante knows who Urizen is now. Just a half of his brother, Virgil. And Virgil, a little bit of Virgil shines through. When Dante says the word jackpot, which is a word that he said when he was fighting a demon with his brother in the underworld during Devil May Cry 3, which they grabbed one of Dante's guns was given to Virgil, and Dante catch one, and they shot him together after saying jackpot in sync. Really awesome moment. When he says jackpot, he reacts, which just confirms it for Dante. Anyway, Urizen gets a power-up, but it still isn't really enough for Dante's loads amount of new weapons and the Sin Devil Trigger. He gets defeated, and Dante sits there and lets V do his thing. But what ends up happening is V reunites with Urizen, creating Virgil again. And Virgil is way too strong for Dante even right now, since he's tired. He's tired from fighting Urizen twice now. And Nero is there in the background just watching the two fight, and he's like, hey, wait, what do you mean? Why do I need to stay back? Dante wants him to stay back, since he says it's not his fight. Dante has a secret that he's been hiding from Nero. Nero asks, why aren't you letting me go? And Dante yells, he's your father. Virgil is Nero's father. We don't know who the mother is, since Devil May Cry never really got into that, but there was this one woman in a cutscene in Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition where a woman looked at Virgil very strangely. That might have been her, but it was just an unnamed character, which we never knew. both parents abandoned Nero at birth. Virgil pretty much just impregnated the woman and left. The mother dropped him off at an orphanage, never to be seen again, and he was made fun of by the kids there for being for that happening at the orphanage. He was adopted by a family from the Order of the Sword on Fortuna, which is a order that worships Sparta for saving the Earth. Kyrie and Credo are the family that adopt him. Credo is the elder brother of Kyrie, and Kyrie is the younger sister. We don't know their other family members, but we know that Credo died in Devil May Cry 5, which really impacted Nero. He was distraught because he couldn't save him, and he barely could save Kyrie. I'll get into Devil May Cry 4 at a later date, but in Devil May Cry 5, Nero finds out that he has a family. Besides an adopted one, he has a family. And this pretty much makes him go through a little bit of a crisis towards the end of the game. Dante ends up going to the top of the Qliphoth, now the top of the Qliphoth, and fighting V's old pet demons. He kills all three of them, which is kind of sad since I liked Griffin. He gave a lot of really funny clips. And they ended up... And then they get to the top, and Dante and Virgil fight it out once more. Virgil and Dante are now on equal ground. Virgil also has a Shin or Sin Devil Trigger. Shin means new in Japanese, if you're unaware. And Virgil and Dante fight on equal footing, beating the living heck out of each other until they're about to kill each other. They both go into their Devil Triggers, and then a figure explodes into the middle of them, holding them back from killing each other. It is a demonic-looking figure with white hair. It is revealed after a very, very amazing performance by Johnny Young Bosch that was Nero. That was Nero's new Devil Trigger. He regrows his arm after his Devil Breaker arm explodes out of emotion. He grows wings out of his back, and his arm grows back. His arm that was cut off grows back into a new humanoid arm. And he launches himself into the air after screaming, "I'm not letting you die." This is just after a phone call from Kyrie, who he's asking, "I found out I have a family. What am I supposed to do with that?" And Nero screams that he's not letting them die. Nero has just found out that his real family, Dante and Virgil, are alive. And he does not want any of them to die, because then that means he will lose his family. Something he has never really had besides Kyrie and Credo. And he awakens his Devil Trigger and gets into the middle of the two fighters. He proceeds to absolutely destroy Virgil and makes him submit. Dante and Virgil, after this, say, "All right, Nero's right. We gotta stop. We gotta stop for now. We need to go close the portal that you opened, Virgil, and get rid of the Qliphoth. Because if we don't, those roots are going to spread through town and still keep killing people." And Virgil agrees, but he says he can still fight. He wants a rematch with Nero at some point. But the roots will just interfere with their business. So Virgil and Dante go to the underworld. But the problem is, they can't come back, because what they need to do is seal the portal with the Yamato, and then if they wanted to get back, they'd have to open another portal with the Yamato. Yamato can cut through dimensions and open portals, which is a very cool ability it has. Anyway, this is the end of the game. This is the end game. I kind of skimmed through the game. That's only because I don't have much time. But as we do have Nero, they're told, "Nero, the reason we can go is that you're here. You can protect the Earth for us while we're down there." And Dante says, "We're trusting you with things on the side. Capiche?" And Dante jumps down first. Virgil still has V's old poetry book. It is a poetry book from some poet. I forget their name, but it has the letter V on it. He says, "I won't lose next time." He throws the book to Nero and says, "Hold on to that till then." In the epilogue, you see Nero caught talking to Kyrie, very, very happy with himself. And they talk for a bit, and what ends up happening is demons hold up in front of Nero, and he gets out. Nico throws him a new Devil Breaker, which is a arm that he can fit over his new arm, instead of just a. Well, actually, here's what Nero can do. He can degrow his arm and regrow it at will. So he puts it on, and then he says a really cool line. "So devils cry, huh? Let's see what that sounds like." And it breaks the screen and the game ends. It's a very awesome ending. And there's a little end credits scene where you see Dante and Virgil fighting in the underworld. And then at the end of it, Dante says, and Virgil's like, "Don't you dare say it!" And Dante says, "Jackpot," after shooting his iconic guns, Ebony and Ivory. Devil May Cry 5 is probably my favorite game of 2019, and I would definitely elect it for Game of the Year. Anyway, thank you for tuning into the Oddcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. This is Colin from THS Media, signing out.